Hi, everyone. Michelle D'Ambra here with Josephine Zanetti again. Hi, Josephine.
Hi.
We're going to talk about digestion. I think this is a very important topic because a lot of people struggle with digestion. I know for me, my own personal experience, and Josephine could probably relate, growing up Italian, we ate a lot of pasta and a lot of bread. And that is like glue in the intestinal tract. I didn't eat a lot of vegetables. I didn't drink a lot of water. So I was very constipated. I think I wouldn't go to the bathroom for like 5 days through my teens and my early 20s. That's actually what helped me start changing my diet, is because of the problems that I had. How about you, Josephine? Did you eat a lot of pasta and have problems too when you were young?
You know, I think I started having the problem with the bowels as soon at 2 years old, when I had food poisoning and they brought me in the hospital, put me under IV. And then, of course, it didn't help that I was not breastfed. But I think like in my teens, it was constipated constantly. I started to drink or take milk of magnesium, because that's the only thing that would work. And my first boyfriend, instead of bringing me flowers, he would bring me prune juice. I'm 15 years old, you know what I mean? So, I mean, I felt old very early in my, like now I feel young because I have bowel movements. That's like hallelujah, okay? And like you said, is it the pasta? During the summertime, we did eat some vegetables, but it was like what? The tomatoes, it was the salads,
Right.
broccolis and stuff like that, but it was not abundant as, let's say, no, what was always abundant was the pasta. We love the pasta, my sister.
I know.
And I.
We eat it
only
5 times a week, I think.
Yeah, me too. Like I didn't care if it was white. I put a lot of cheese on it with butter. I mean, it's like, and I don't know why I thought, and I used to get tonsillitis a lot because my bowels were not functioning, just like you. So yeah, you and I, we relate. I mean, there's so many people that way. It's not funny. It's like,
I know. It's true. I think by the time I was 22 or 23, I was in a really stressful job and had a trauma because the owners of the company died while I was working there, and I was very close to them. And I started getting irritable bowel syndrome. So then it became extreme one way or the other. But I was also consuming a lot of sugar. I was a sugar addict, and I did start drinking water in my early 20s, and I stopped drinking soda. So that was a good habit that I started. But yeah, it was really terrible through my 20s. And I had a lot of Candida, leaky gut issues that started in my 20s from antibiotics. So that's the other thing is, taking antibiotics will destroy the gut, and not being able to have bowel movements, and then stress affects the gut.
Yeah, that's right.
That's really what irritable bowel syndrome is. It's a combination of stress and diet.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's why they can't really give you something to heal it. I mean, here I was in my early 20s and they're telling me to take Metamucil.
Yeah, you do. So you know what it feels. Those kind of remedies are usually only meant for old people who are 90 years old.
I know.
And we are in our early 20s. And people did not talk about it much, although my boyfriend knew, but it was like, even if I would go places after, I'd go visit family and spend the weekend there. I said, I used to dread it because I knew that I had to spend a lot of time sitting at the bathroom, relax. I needed to relax. The fact that I came from a chaotic background, at home, it wasn't peaceful. That didn't help. Okay. So some people could eat a lot of junk food, but if they come from a very serene home, they're not going to have the same problems. But some of us get affected differently. And us, obviously, was the gut.
Trauma and things like that. Yeah, I grew up in a very chaotic, stressful, dysfunctional family environment. So, and that, we don't realize how much that influences not only our mental well-being, emotional well-being, but our physical well-being. And they say that your stomach, the gut, is the second brain. So, what's going on in the stomach, or the brain, they're connected to each other. So if you're stressed, you're sending signals down to your digestion to not work properly. And then if your digestion isn't working properly and you don't have the proper nutrients, serotonin's made in the stomach. So all these people are getting antidepressants, but are they working on their digestion and their diet? Because
Exactly.
that's really where a lot of our hormones are being made. I'm going to take a quick break and get my dog, but you can talk.
Okay. So what I was thinking also is, even though, what is dysfunctional family? Let's emphasize that is only the fact that a parent don't get along with another parent is enough. They don't even have to talk to know. Children are very sensitive to these things. If there's no love in the home, and we're talking respect for one another, just that will make a child really sad. Actually, it makes a child very sad, not very happy. They're going to school, and I mean, they don't know when they come home how it's going to be, because the mother may be depressed. That's another thing also. A lot of people come from backgrounds that the mothers are very, very depressed.
Mm-hmm.
And so even though they are married with a husband and they don't speak, so it all depends. So we were affected by that, and many people are affected by by these situations. So with the gut, then comes Hashimoto, comes all kinds of different problems with it, right? It's not just one thing. So digestion, like we talk about that often, but that's the number one. It's really, if that works, at least the toxins are coming out. That is so important.
And you don't really notice the difference until your digestion starts working. Like if I travel, I will do anything possible to make sure that my bowels are still moving, because before I would go 5 days, if I were to go one day and not go to the bathroom, I am completely miserable. Like, you don't realize a lot of the symptoms that you have are related to these things until you feel better. And then you're like, oh, wow, like that was a lot of my problems, was not big. Imagine the food's fermenting in the body. And so we'll go to the next thing. It's important to know your oxidation. If you're a fast oxidizer and you're eating, say, a vegan diet, then you're probably going to be going to the bathroom a lot. If you're a slow oxidizer and you're doing keto, then your elimination is going to be very slow. One of the ways that I've always tested elimination is to eat a bunch of beets and then look for them in the toilet, over the next whatever time. And they should be eliminated within 24 hours. 18 hours would probably be really good, but within 24 hours. So if you don't see the beets for a few days, then that's a huge issue. Or if you see them too soon, then that's a problem too.
Not digesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's right. They're not being digested.
Or too fast, and then not able to absorb the nutrients because
that's right.
Pulling too fast. So that's why that's an issue. And there's digestive aids. We take GB3, Endomed, that's at Endomed, and then there's an NSAID at Endomed, and then there's a couple that are at Trace Elements as well. But that will help, especially people over 40, and I talked about this in my parasite video. Over 40, we stop producing stomach acid. So we all need help after 40 to make sure that things are, you want to break down the proteins. That's why a lot of people will switch to a vegetarian or vegan diet, because they're not digesting protein properly. But we really need the animal protein. So you need the HCl or whatever kind of digestive aid to help break down the protein.
That's right. A lot of people also, we know, not a lot, but some people complain about intestinal gas as well, right? And a lot of it has to do with the food that we eat. If we mix some protein with starch, that may be a problem. When we started with the program, food combination was very important. That has been let go, where, you know, most people now, they eat their chips, even if there's meat and stuff. And I don't particularly recommend eating both, because it does, especially at first, you know, so because it ends up fermenting in your stomach. Everything ferments with it. And then if you have smelly gas, then you know that you're not doing something good with the food combination. So although the chips are good, I mean, for some people, it's okay. Some people are not able at first to eat them, because it does create problems for gas, Candida, all kinds of different things with the blue corn chips. But at the beginning, following the food combination, which is to keep protein and starch away, like, you know, grains, especially, you know, like rice.
So that people know the carbohydrates are broken down with the
exactly.
Mouth.
That's right, exactly. And then another thing,
find it with something else, then it's not going to break it down properly.
That's right. And depending also on the sodium potassium ratio that people have on their hair test, you know, because if it's low, oftentimes it's associated with digestive weakness and adrenaline weaknesses and like carb intolerance and stuff like this for some people, a lot of them anyways. So these are little things to watch, because when I started, my sodium potassium was low. You know, it was like, it started at 1, then it climbed at 2, then it got stuck at 2, never was going up. It took some years before it started to go up. But I think I had a lot of repair to be done within as well, you know, so there was some repair that needed to be done. I had to retrace, and I still am, because we're all work in progress, by the way. So it takes, depending what you eat. And so it's very important to stick it out and not get discouraged. Very important.
A high sodium to potassium, so a low sodium potassium, you're going to have more Candida, parasites, leaky gut, those types of issues. And then with a high sodium to potassium, you might have gastric type stuff, because it's bloating because of the sodium. So you might have, you know, indigestion. What's that other thing? When your stomach bloats up. My brain hasn't been working lately. I think I'm dumping aluminum. I always know when I'm eliminating aluminum, because it takes a while, because it's related to like dementia. So my memory starts to get a little bit, you know. And when we got too much on our plate, right? The sympathetic dominant, by the way, a lot of people are sympathetic dominant. Like that means and the potassium is low for some. Okay, so the potassium could be at 1, between 1 and 4, but their NAK is high. All right. So in that area, so they don't have a sodium potassium ratio that's low, but on the other hand, they do have their potassium, that is the potassium level that is low, which makes them a sympathetic dominant, which actually gives them no vitality in the body. And having no vitality in the body means that, of course, digestion is not going to be working as well as it should. Right.
I mean, that's so many things.
And that's why it's important to have a hair mineral analysis test, because you can see, you know, what's in, you know, playing a role in these problems that we have. So that's, and not only that, you know, we're hearing, especially after this whole virus thing, you know, they're like, take zinc. Well, no, you really shouldn't take zinc if you have a low sodium to potassium ratio. It could be really dangerous, because zinc lowers sodium. So I don't just tell people to take certain vitamins, because if I know that, if I don't know their hair test, then I wouldn't want to, you know, say to take zinc. So I don't do those things anymore now that I've become a practitioner and I understand the minerals. Certain things it's okay to say, but certain things it's not, because it could be dangerous and really throw somebody off.
Yes, exactly. That's absolutely right. On a spiritual level with digestion is also the fact that we're having a hard time digesting the real world the way it is and accepting it.
And then,
And
so the constipation could be not letting go,
yeah,
holding on, thinking of, just being stubborn, you know, things like that. And then going too much would be anxiety, fear, worrying about the future. That's why some people have irritable bowel. It's almost like they feel kind of bipolar because they're holding on and stubborn, but then they're worried about the future. And I'm speaking from experience from all this. I noticed that when I feel great about my life and I'm taking care of myself and I'm sleeping, my digestion is good. So how we think plays a huge role on our digestion.
oh yeah, big, big,
Mhm.
big, big. Even like having anxieties. I have a client it's not the diet, nor is it the supplements, but she has a habit, a pattern of thinking ahead. Okay. And so thinking ahead means right away she'll have fear. Am I doing the right thing? Is this the right thing to do? And maybe I'm getting sicker instead of getting well. But there is no evidence of that, because then whatever you create in your mind, then that's it. What we create in that mind, it goes in the body, it goes everywhere. And the next thing you know, it's like full bloom.
Yeah.
And I mean, you need a pill almost. That's how bad it is. It is, I mean, I'm guilty of that, or I was guilty of that. I have more discipline in stopping it, thank God. But when I was, let's say, in my 30s, especially 40s, early 40s, I had no discipline in that. And you get into irrational thinking. And then you have to ask yourself, am I being rational here? Or have I lost it over here? Because, whatever, we don't know what's going to happen in the near future, but for some reason, we think we have some control over it.
Yeah, we don't.
Right?
And I was such a stress. Like I was even diagnosed with general anxiety disorder in my late 20s. And I suffer from it a little bit because I think I work too much and I'm analytical. So I'm constantly trying to analyze, but I don't loop in the things that I used to worry about like I did before. And, I think changing my diet, changing how I think, working through trauma, past issues has helped me to be a more calm person. And I really believe that a lot of our mental, emotional problems have to do with our diet. And our diet, not only in what we consume food, but what we consume in our brain, what we're listening to, what we're thinking about, who we have relationships with. If you're around people who are constantly negative, complaining, or just not high integrity, then you become the people that you hang out with. So it's really important to limit, those types of people in our life. I think we're always going to have them, and we tend to be like that too at times. But if we're hanging around people like that, it's not going to help bring you out of it. We should really dip into those things. We dip into those.
There we go. They're being very bad. So also the food, she's not there, but now I'm going to tell you, feeding your soul is the number one. Okay. Feeding the soul is the number one priority for everybody. Yep. Because the truth of the matter is that's nourishment. You have to nourish, because with the modern medicine, they've cut out the soul completely. All they deal with is a body. So we've become only animals for them in the scientific and the science world. That's it. That's all. But we're not just body. We are body. We are soul and body, created and at the same time or the soul might have been created before, but the fact is that's what we are. And if we don't deal with that, it's like the fact is we can eat as well as we think we are, but if we neglect the soul and we're not looking after that, it doesn't matter what kind of diet you're going to be.
Right.
And you might as well eat the sugar and have the beer and have your donuts. You know,
And
I'm serious.
Yeah, no, it's true. I started
eating
healthy 20 years ago.
Yes, me too.
But because I was in unhealthy relationships and I wasn't, taking care of my soul, and I didn't know my purpose. Like, I really feel like people need to know who they are and what their purpose is in this world, because then you feel kind of lost. Once I found those things, then it definitely made a huge difference in my mental, emotional, and physical well-being.
Yes, absolutely. There is a peace that comes with it. We don't worry as much. If the bowels, it's like being on the program, let's say, and you go through a retracing. It's not having the fear that it's going to go on forever, because nothing goes on forever anyway. So it's going to go on for whatever time it needs to go on. You relax, take it easy. And then next thing you know, in a week or so, it may go away. Some people, they go through really harsh retracing. Some people, there's some like detox, their skin detox because their liver is not working well and their kidneys don't work as well. So the next best thing will be the skin that's going to be needing to release the detox, right? Release all these toxins.
Yeah, I had eczema come up. It was on my shins. And then remember, I had rashes under my arms, my armpits.
That's right. Yeah.
And then I had a rash come up on my neck for like 4 days. It was really weird. I've had like a spot open up in my leg. It just opened up, cracked, and then healed.
How long did that take to heal?
It took probably about a week and a half. I was monitoring it for 2 weeks. At first, I was like, oh my gosh, I've got cancer. That's where we go.
Yes.
We automatically, my clients do it, I do it. We go right to that. But then, I trusted, I was doing the sauna. I trusted that maybe there was a parasite in my leg and it was kind of coming to the surface. And it completely healed and closed up and was gone. I've had moles where I can pick them off. So I know that whatever's in needs to come out, and to just be patient. People right away get freaked out, but it's not that bad. I'd rather have it out than in. So
and to even think a program like this would create something like it is a bit disconcerting, because our diet is really only vegetables and animal protein altogether. So most people have their grain, which is their blue corn or other kind of grains, quinoa or whatever else if they wish. But really, it's not a whole lot. We don't have the fruits, which is really good at first. It's not having the fruits because it's high in glucose, it's high in sugar. And we stay away from wine, we stay away from toxic, even the toxic meat we stay away from. We have, organic, we try to get the grass fed. So, we're very, very well fed. I don't think I've ever been so well fed in my life, honestly, in the last 10, 12 years.
And as well as this. Time in the beginning, because a lot of people that come into this their stomachs are really a mess. I have to usually go back to 15 years ago and remember what I was going through so that I can connect and know what my clients are going through. So that's why I think I have a high degree of belief in other people, because I look back at all the things that I've overcome. And so I believe in everybody's ability to overcome with your dedication. Because if you think about, constipation, drinking, smoking, horrible diet, bad attitude, all this stuff is gone, depression, anxiety to the extremes, all of that was through healing the physical, emotional.
For sure. Definitely. I can't imagine The food has a big, it's amazing. It's the same thing as when you drink alcohol. Well, food has the same effect. So if you're not eating the right food, it will have the same effect as if you're drinking a glass of rum and coke, quite honestly, right?
Yeah, that
so,
and the Candida, which,
yeah,
and people, the one thing I forgot to mention on the parasites video is that sugar feeds Candida and parasites. So if you're
yes,
craving sugar, that's the bugs that want it. They're like,
right.
feed me. So, and then it has a sense of releasing certain hormones that make us feel good, but it's just, there is nothing absolutely healthy or good about sugar at all, especially processed sugar. Eventually you might be able to eat some fruits, but even then too much fruit is like eating candy bars, and it's like drinking alcohol because there's so much sugar in that. So a lot of people come to us with brain fog, and it's almost like they feel drunk when they're not drinking, and it's all the sugar and the Candida in the body.
Yes, exactly. It grows. It's a big yeast fungus that starts to grow in your body, and it takes a long time to get rid of it. But I mean, the way not to feel anything, where it would stop almost automatically, is when you do stop the sugar, like you said. If you stop the sugar, all of a sudden within a week you're going to start feeling better.
Yeah.
Okay. If you go back to it, then it comes back, but it's best like when you're with the diet, you omit certain food that causes digestive symptoms, and then you can reintroduce it slowly after several months, maybe, so when the intestines have an opportunity to heal. That would be a best way to do this. But even now, like I said before we started with the blue corn chips, maybe it's between 8 to 10 or 8 to 10 chips per meal. So even if, let's say, I don't eat 8 to 10 chips per meal and I have them all together about maybe 15 on one meal, that's way too much for me. But I'm addicted to them. So, I mean, if I open up a bag having just a few blue chips, doesn't seem to work for me, because I'm like, I have to learn self-control, and I have no self-control with certain food. And the blue corn, it's like pasta. If you would put a bowl of pasta in front of me after all these years, the one that's made of semolina, I mean, I'd eat it. I know that the next day I'd have the eyes like this, and I'd be sneezing. Because the body, it takes time to heal. It's not something that happens overnight, but if I don't eat it, I don't have the symptoms. And that's what matters. Not having the symptoms is very important. It's not just thinking you're going to go back to your bad habits, because when you think about it, what's healthy about pasta? There's nothing in it except it gives you energy, because it turns into sugar, really.
Yeah. I always tell people it's glue in the intestinal tract.
Right.
Flour. So if you think about flour and your pasty, that's what happens in the intestinal tract. So kind of to go back a little bit with the food combining, if you eat, say, meat and potatoes and stuff like that, and then you have fruit afterwards, what's happening is the meat and the starch is going to move very slow in the colon. And then the fruit is going to ferment behind it. So think smelly gas. And then, you're going to have this bloating, because what's happening is this gas is building up because the fruit's just fermenting in there. And then everything in front of it is moving slow. So if you were to eat fruit, you really should do it away from that and before, not during.
Not during.
No.
Same thing with cheese, because cheese is okay if you have about 5 ounces of dairy a day, but try not to have it with grains, or bread. Some people have cheese, like, grilled cheese, let's say, just hypothetically, grilled cheese, which is very good. I used to love grilled cheese with my syrup. I used to put it on, and I'd go on it, and But I mean, that's the Candida attack right there.
Right.
You'll have it.
Right.
Yeast overgrowth right there after you finish. You may not feel it, but actually you may feel it right away when you start being really tired, you know, and
Yeah.
you need a rest and go, you know, like the Italians, that's what they do. Here they are, they have their meals in Italy. They have their meals. Their biggest meal is in the afternoon, but then they don't work after their
Right.
meal. They go to bed because they ate so much, and they eat the pasta, they eat the fish, they eat the chicken, and they eat some greens, the salads. They're big on salads. And then next thing you know, of course, the blood sugar has crashed, and you need to go rest.
I know, been there, done that. Yeah. So what things can help? Eating more cooked vegetables in your meals will
Right.
move the colon. I share this with people who are not on the program, you know, family members, whatever. I'm like, just entertain me, and for the next week, eat vegetables in all your meals. And if you're not going to the bathroom by the end of the week, then there's probably another problem going on. And sure enough, they're going to the bathroom by the end of the week. So having more cooked vegetables, having more water, you know, a lot of us are dehydrated. We've talked about that before. Not eating when you're stressed, you know, try and make it a more pleasant. I tend to do things like eat at my desk for work, or I'll put the TV on at night and I'll eat. And I've been trying to not do that. Because I know that I need to just be present in the moment while I'm eating, because that's the best thing for digestion. So
Right.
I don't turn anything on when I'm eating dinner now, and I keep it nice and quiet and just be in the moment of me having my meal instead of being distracted doing other stuff.
Chew your food
Caffeine.
also, you know, make
Oh.
sure you're chewing,
Chewing.
because we're so used to just put the food in our mouth and just gobble it down, you know.
I'm a
And
slow eater, so I've been doing that a long time. I'll eat with other people and they're done, and I'm like not even halfway through my food. But that helps tremendously because it helps the digestive enzymes do their job. As you're chewing, it's
Right.
initiating the enzymes to mix with the food to help with the digestion. So if you're not combining the food properly, and you're stressed and you're shoveling it down and not chewing, then yeah, you're going to have a problem digesting that.
Absolutely. There's also this thing like, although now, you know, we eat different types of vegetables at one meal. So we have a variety. We can have between 2 to 3 cups per meal, a variety. But if you're really, really sensitive, have only one single food per meal, like a mono meal. That's also very good. And as you go on, as you're gonna progress, then you'll be able to add more and add more and add more, and then eventually you'll reach the goal of having more vegetable per serving, you know, like 6 or 7 or between 8 to 10 different types of vegetables per meal. Then you'll be able. But if it's not possible at the beginning, because people come to us and they really have a problem with their digestion, you know, so it's about using common sense as well. You know, we give them the recommendations, but it's important they come back to us and let us know what's going on within a week or two and stuff, and not just go by what we're telling them, because sometimes it doesn't work for them. So we need to have their feedback to know how we can handle it and what we can give them as recommendation as well.
That's correct. And it's also about building new habits. So in the beginning, you kind of ease into it, you know, and then you graduate and start incorporating more. And then once you start to say, oh, I feel so much better, then you get excited. I get excited about it. I'm like, the other day I was chopping everything up, and I actually bought a wok to steam my vegetables in with a nice lid, because the Instant Pot I don't like the vegetables in the Instant Pot anymore. And they just came out so beautiful and vibrant. And I had different onions and carrots and different kinds of greens in there. And it tastes really delicious. Like you want to eat it because of how, you know, exciting it is, instead of just eating broccoli. And you want to rotate. So if you are eating mono vegetables, then rotate them. You don't want to eat broccoli all the time, because they're known that there's things in broccoli that can be cancer causing, especially regular broccoli. So we suggest broccolini. But you just want to rotate your foods so you're not eating the same thing all the time.
Exactly. Very important point. That's good. Good advice. Absolutely.
And eliminating or minimizing caffeine. We've talked about this before because it dehydrates you. I personally still drink caffeine in the morning. I think it just helps me. It does a little click for the bowels, gives me a little jump, but I use tea. I don't drink coffee, and I try to limit it. And I don't like to have caffeine in the afternoon because it usually keeps me up. But watching your caffeine intake too.
Yeah, I have a cup of coffee. I'm not really, there's more goat milk in my coffee than there's really milk, coffee, you know, I just want something hot in the morning. So
Yeah.
before I begin, so it makes me relax, you know, get to read my emails. And so it's it's like having some time with yourself in the morning by doing that, you know. So before doing the prayers or doing whatever, it's like, it's a time for yourself. And it's like, you know, instead of having a popsicle, like maybe some people would like, or having a piece of fruit. So me, I have a nice cup of coffee.
Yep.
I didn't have that before, you know.
You didn't?
That. Yeah. I just really started maybe about a few years ago, and then I let it go. But you know, we'll see. I mean, the coffee is getting expensive, so we'll see about that too.
I've never had a cup of coffee in my entire life.
No,
never.
Oh wow, that's good.
I've tasted it a couple times. I've tasted it, but I don't like the taste. I love the smell. So like when I do a coffee enema, I love the smell of the coffee cooking. But I don't like the taste of coffee. I've always just had tea because, I don't like it.
Yeah, it's very strong. If you buy it at the store, when you go, let's say, just for the sake of it, you go to a coffee shop, it's very strong the way. Even a cafe latte, it's like awful. So I rather make it myself because it's very light. It's really like water with goat milk that I put in, because but still it's hot, and I feel like it's like a little hot chocolate, you know.
Right.
That's what I used to like, hot chocolate. Did you?
I would drink it too.
I love that. Yeah. I miss that. There's certain things here I have taste for, maybe because it reminds me of places I've been. I mean, when spring started, I started to want to ask my sister. I said, what about if we don't skip rope like we used to when we were teenagers? I mean, things like that, that's coming up. You know, I know the people around, they're all old. They're going to look at me and my sister. They're going to say, oh, gee.
It's okay, though. We really should be more like children, you know?
Yeah.
We just allow trauma, insecurities, and self-consciousness and shyness get in the way when we should just, be more free and do things that are more fun and relaxed and, out of the masculine, the analytical and the thinking. I think
play ball and doing things that we used to do as kids. We gave it all up, all of a sudden, because we figured we became adults and we had to start thinking like adults. And that's okay, because you have to have a rational mind. There's nothing wrong with that. But there's the playfulness we have let go. And it seems like it's needed more than ever right now, quite honestly, because I think we've been through a whole lot in the last 2 years, not only here in Canada or in the US, but the whole globe has been going through a whole thing. Yeah.
It's definitely helped us reevaluate our lives on what's more important. And I think that's what people have done. They've changed their careers. They've changed their relationships. They've done all kinds of things, gotten healthier because they spent time, evaluating their life. So I think that's pretty much it for the digestion.
One more thing for the digestion that is very important is that near infrared light on your stomach.
Mhm.
Because most of the time people who are constipated are very yin, and what that means is that you're yang deficient.
Mhm.
It means that the gut is very cold, and with the red heat lamp, it helps warm it up. It helps warming up the gut a lot. And so that's one thing. You could shine a light for about 15-20 minutes just on your belly. That
Mhm.
would be very, very helpful. And also
And
to do,
drinking warm water in the morning too will help get things going, and working on the liver. The liver
yes,
is really important, and the gallbladder, which that's why the digestive aids will help, especially GB3 for people who don't have a gallbladder. But the liver needs to be functioning properly, because remember, after it leaves the stomach, it's going to go through all of that to get to the colon. Milk thistle is good for the liver.
yes,
And shining the heat lamp on the liver is good too. And the
yes,
coffee enemas, because it releases glutathione, which really helps.
yes. That's right. So, I mean, that's all good stuff. And yeah, I mean, this was a good video. It's always nice to see you, Michelle. For
Oh,
people who are watching, don't forget the thumbs up and subscribe. It would be wonderful for you guys to subscribe. We're going to have more interesting videos
topic.
topics coming up, some guests maybe we're going to get, some clients that want to be on talking about their own testimonials that they have. So stay tuned.
Yes. And if you have any suggestions on what you would like us to have topics on, feel free to leave a comment on this video. Go check out the other videos related to this. Would be the parasite one I did recently. If you can handle hearing and talking about that. But
That's
yeah,
a good one.
it's really important, because I don't think people realize that is a huge problem. We need to work on that, because that causes a lot of digestion problems, the gas, indigestion, and a lot of the constipation and diarrhea. So that's a very important topic that goes along with this.
Absolutely. Yeah, it goes hand in hand, actually. Yeah, don't miss it.
Thank you for joining me, Josephine. I always enjoy chit-chatting with you. We have similar backgrounds, and it's just great when you have that connection with somebody.
Yeah, great. So we'll see you next week, Michelle. Have a great weekend.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Bye.